bottom left-hand side of the map, on top of the red Protoss player from Team Alpha X, sitting up 1-0. He is Astrea.
In the upper right-hand side, our blue Protoss, the last remaining Korean, it is Stats.
Also, Astrea moves forward to the probe, finds this proxy pylon and the robo that's going to be coming down.
Yeah, it's just almost so obvious that it's like, whatever, you can see it if you want to, right? He knew where this pylon was, he sees the robo, and now the question is, can you do this, can you make this work, basically, as Astrea, defensively?
Gordy, there's one weird thing. The Zealot is going to get there before the Stalkers get there, and that pylon's already lost all of its shields. I don't think that pylon goes down, but okay.
I mean, the second pylon probably finishes before it goes down anyway, right? So overall, not much difference. The only thing is if you get rid of it, then maybe you could argue it forces the other pylon to finish up or so.
Yeah, shouldn't be the end of the world over here because, like you said, it's not exactly going to supply block him or anything either. And actually, the Zealot might end up going down in exchange for that. So a little bit of a trade, I guess.
It's still nice, right? It's still 100 minerals for 100 minerals, essentially, because you still need this pylon. Now 2 Stalkers show up, so it's this continuation as well. Now you've got a Zealot advantage in this Stalker fight, and he gets the first 2 shots off and make that 2 more Fear Dragon. And this is really good. Now there's an extra Stalker about to show up, and unfortunately he's only gotten shield so far. And that probe actually helping out a little bit as well. And he's unfortunately been in range there, so this Stalker will go down. And, well, then the Immortal shows up from Stats as well, and Astrea has 1 Stalker left out on the map. This is worrying because now you're missing units that are meant to be here for the defense, and it gives Stats a good head start on picking away. I mean, if he kills this pylon, this game ends.
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really scary proposition, especially since the shield battery isn't even done to heal that up. So now we end up seeing the Stalkers at least able to chip away at that Immortal since the battery is, or sorry, the Immortal shields are gone. But that is going to completely halt everything right now. And now the War Prism just warps in more Stalkers. Like, what do you do as Astrea?
Yeah, you need everything, right? You just need everything right away. You need to have all of your units to be able to push this back. And yeah, I mean, it's rough right now. You've got a shield battery trying to keep the warp gate alive, and it will just about do that as he gets an extra Stalker out. But the only thing I say is Astrea's got a pylon and Stats' main. If he could get somehow a warp in of a depth, if he can somehow afford that, that can turn this game around because Astrea is up 12 workers. He can take some losses, and then if you do damage the Stats behind it as well, maybe, but you've got to be able to fight this army at some point. That's what the Stargate is for. Let's see if Astrea can buy enough time.
Yeah, we have the shield battery overcharge healing up that cyber core. Could maybe also heal up the gateways if he needs just a bit more time to get that first warp in. He's going to warp in 2 sentries, so the force fields look like they're going to be pretty important over here just to buy time for that Stargate to find some value. Like you said, there's actually that pylon, but also we see a second pylon going up over there right next to it. It's coming out from Stats, so Stats is recognizing he's warping in at home.
Yeah, he's just going to make sure he keeps an eye on it. He knows anything that's happening. Cybercore goes down, a new one starts. Now the Void Ray begins. I understand the need for sentries, right? The force fields to buy you time. But by warping in sentries, he used all of his gas. So then this Void Ray couldn't do anything, right? Like, you couldn't build the Stargate or build the Void Rays. The Stargate couldn't do anything. So I don't know what the right choice is, but I mean, it feels like this is just too much. This got out of control early. I think it comes down to those early Stalkers. You can't really lose those. You give Stats an advantage like that with this kind of build, and, well, this happens.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty brutal. Even with the Void Ray coming on out, the shield batteries are a little too far for it to actually utilize. So it's going to try and maximize the potential with a high ground area, but eventually gets sniped off. Shield battery overcharge finally comes off cooldown, but with so much DPS, Stats looks like he's going to be able to take the aggression to Astrea, tie up the series 1-1.
So I think this is going to be an expansion behind it from Stats, but definitely with the intention of being the first to strike. The robo doesn't usually come into use for a little while from here on out in PvP, unless you end up adding on Immortals, which is generally more of a, oh no, I need to be defensive play anyway, so it's more situational. So yeah, we'll see what Stats can do. A couple of extra warp-ins here will give him some potential pressure. Hey, if he just jumps up into this main base, that can be deadly. He's got force fields, remember, and if he just catches Astrea super far to position, that will get the job done for your Dragon. He is in range of so much important stuff. There's a recall into the main.
Yeah, Recall's gonna recall most of the units. There are still 2 adepts over there on the low ground. Sentries are gonna end up fighting over here with Guardian Shield being caught for both sides. Some Force Fields trying to keep these units from easily loading up to the War Prism, but they still get picked up. And this is starting to get a little bit awkward, I feel like, for Astrea, just because Stats is doing a good job with the micro, but Stats doesn't have any area to micro too much further back. So that's the one downside. I still think he's winning out with just raw units, though.
Yeah, he really is. I didn't think it was going to be quite this successful, but Astrea just had no idea about it. Like, he just wasn't thinking, oh, Prism into the main. and everything is just a little too slow here. Obviously, no defensive structure up in this main. There's no battery or anything. Now you're diving for the Prism to stop warpins. That's great and all, but how much does he lose in the process? Well, a couple of extra Stalkers. He does get the cleanup here, Astrea, but it costs him 15 probes. And all the things Stats was behind in later Nexus, doesn't matter. He just killed more probes, right? He's now got vision. He knows what's up. He's behind on Blink, but he has the Immortals he can now build. This is one of those situations where having the Robo up is extremely useful.
Yeah, that's going to be really brutal. And remember, the Warp Prism survived, so Stats actually still has the potential to continue being aggressive. If Astrea is just saying, okay, I need to catch up, I'm going to just do nothing but warp in more probes, because he actually has to go and remake some more Stalkers. He only had one Stalker, which is not enough to actually push back even just a minor warp in of these units.
This was so sad because these probes actually pulled, but then, and the Adept hit to the low ground too, but they actually didn't mineral walk, so they got stuck on the Adept, and so 5 of them went down where maybe only 2 or 3 should have gone down, and then the Adept shade to the natural. Now they're going to shade back in the main. You know what? This is just, you're just not allowed to mine as Astrea. You know, he's got nothing because he's just not mining this entire time. His 20 probes are running around silly. He has no scan information on this early. Now he does bring a probe to the left-hand side, but by not scouting, he lets this get up right away. So this is a good win already from Stats. If Astrea goes in now, sees what's up, he can pull back and make use of this pylon. I kind of like it. It feels like this pylon gives him options based on what he scouts right now. He's going to do something, right? There's no way he's not. He will prioritize Stalkers and Warp Gate, which has me thinking Robo, maybe?
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, 16-6 army supply. We're talking about the power of shield batteries right now as we get set up to go. And this probe is just going to wander in and be like, hello, anything happening in this main base? Not really. Absolutely nothing at all, in fact.
Yeah, because he's already seen that there is the Immortal and a lot of Stalkers at his front door. He's already built a 2nd shield battery, now adding on a 3rd shield battery and a 4th shield battery. I do just want to quickly note if these Stalkers start losing ground when that Warp Prism arrives, there is one pylon for all of those, Wardy. And, you know, I feel like that's something Stats should be aware of soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is some stuff to look at here. Is Astrea going to start building up shield batteries of his own? It kind of feels like it, right?
Yeah,
I
think
like
so.
it. Man, kill this pylon, please.
I guess he's going to go for, like, the safe damage over here. He's going to go for Stalkers with a Force Field, which is really nice.
I feel like the pylon is safe damage. It's not that far forward. I know there's another one about to finish up, but, well, this works too. He's just killed every shield battery. This is so good for Astrea.
This is beautiful. And actually, funny enough, the Immortal for Stats, even though it does snag the Sentry, it doesn't exactly do extra damage to the Sentry, so it takes a little bit longer. And now the Cyber Core taking a lot of damage. You already see the shield batteries coming up over here for Astrea. It says, I just killed all of your shield batteries, and I'm going to have more than you. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, having offensive shield batteries really makes this a bit of a challenge. Stats is going to go for Immortal number 2, though, right? And that's something Astrea has not gone for at all. So that's something to keep in mind. If there's an Immortal advantage here from Stats, this becomes a very different scenario, perhaps, even against shield batteries. Good force field. Perfect force field to pick away at this gateway and pylons at the front. And right now, Astrea is still making this happen. He's killing a lot of probes. He needs to be careful of his Immortal. It gets to a shield battery and just about gets healed before he takes another shot.
Yeah, just remember also, by the way, that there is only 2 gateways over here for Stats, so if he loses that other gateway, he's down to 1 gateway worth of production and 1 robo. That's all he's going to have.
He can only warp in.
Very important.
Can only build Zealots right now anyway. He's still waiting for the Cyber Core, and that's been part of the problem. Maybe even why he decided to add on a 2nd Immortal or so to spend his money. Gets the Prism. No, sorry, the shield battery had it. It just about kept alive. Oh, that was a dive from Astrea, and I don't know if it worked with 2 Immortals up. I really think this Immortal count is Stats' lifeline in this game now. And for now, it is holding. These Immortals are healthy. They still have the Prism to micro, and there's a 3rd Immortal about to join the fight, Fear Dragon.
Yeah, I would not hate if Astrea started warping in Adepts or something just to tank the damage from the Immortals. Force Stats to target fire a little bit more, but those Immortals, without the shield battery to heal them up, they are getting lower and lower, but like, it's just keeping these Immortals alive with the Warp Prism. That Warp Prism is his lifeline alongside these Immortals.
Super battery finally comes down. Honestly, I like it because it will just keep everything healed up again. These Immortals are surviving again and again. The batteries of Astrea are about to be out of energy, and that's actually kind of a problem here. With only 1 Immortal, there is now 3 of them still firing away. He has finally lost 1. Is it enough for Astrea? Oh my god, this is so close to Fear Dragon. His Immortal cannot be healed anymore, though, so he can't take any more hits on it.
Yeah, this is actually so dangerous right now. I actually want to note at this point, Stats, he's actually on those 2 bases, but he's not mining for the natural. If he ever finds an opportunity, though, both these players are going to start mining out from their mains pretty soon, and Stats will be able to at least transfer a few workers to the natural and have slightly better mining.
Ooh.
The Warp Prism goes to the main. This is such a ballsy maneuver here from Astrea, but I guess there's just not any Stalkers to punish it.
The Immortal came in at the right time to kind of make that be okay anyways, right? Because the Immortal actually wins a fight against 4 Stalkers unless the Micro is really on point. Maybe now you can come back over to the front and fight before that Immortal repositions, but he's lost his position. And of course, Stats is holding with a Nexus advantage. Astrea is pushed back and still trying to make something happen in the main. I mean, this is what he has to do. He has to buy some time, deal some damage, and I imagine Expanded Home, he's got the money for it, and he's heavily supply blocked, so he doesn't really have any other option. It's these Disruptors that could be game-changing. Stats chooses to go into Twilight and hence Blink and then +1. So he sets up for a later game, which Astrea means he will get into those Disruptors, and that always means there's a chance in PvP.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you were saying, this is going to be a tough road ahead for Astrea. He is undoubtedly behind right now and trying to make a comeback. So he's able to deflect the Warp Prism at least, but that is also going to just lead into the rest of the army over here for Stats moving forward. I believe Stats has been using his Hallucinating Phoenix to just move and like scout around that Warp Prism. I think this is the first reveal of that Disruptor.
I think it is. It's going to go down, though. I mean, he caught the Prism. There's another Disruptor from the left. Why is it over there? I have no idea. It's going to get 3 Stalkers and an Immortal. There's still 2 Immortals here, and the problem right now for Astrea is that Disruptor just will never come off cooldown in time. Is there a new Disruptor that just got made or anything? There is one from Astrea. It's coming down the ramp. Can it make the hold? It needs to connect dead center. It needs to not get killed. No, not like this. Super Battery
Oh my god,
saves
it's alive!
No, it's going to stay alive. It hit both Immortals.
He's gonna win this fight. He kills both Immortals now, and now Stats, he's still somehow, of course, gonna be even-ish on supply, and that's because he's been making workers behind all this and everything. And there's actually also the Adepts that shade into the main base, denying mining. So Stats is still not in a bad position, but Astrea is still in this game with that shield battery overcharge on the Disruptor.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those games where both players, it's extremely difficult to judge exactly where you're at. And it's very difficult to make the right calls, the Chris calls, which you've been, neither of these guys have been in this situation multiple times before, right? It's so scrappy, it's so weird, it played out interestingly early. It's a very different game to what anyone's used to playing. Oh my god, I forgot there was a robo over here. That's
why the Disruptor...
Yeah, I know, it just clicked. Oh my god, I have no idea why the Disruptor came from the left side. It was built on the proxy robo. This game, man.
That's actually amazing. But hey, I mean, Astrea was able to keep one of the Disruptors alive. He's not actually making more Disruptors, though. He's making Immortals just to have tank ability to his army. And with Blink done, these Stalkers can escape out of there. Now the Disruptor is on cooldown, so I like that move from Astrea. He uses the Force Fields to buy himself a bit of time. But this is still a scary moment because Stalkers have Blink, Wardy, and this is the area where you can blink up into the main base.
Adepts across the map, though, and now Astrea, if he sinks those Adept shots up, will be able to finally deal some damage himself. Would put him on a worker lead. Even though Stats has taken an extra base, he's finally got them synced up. So that's kind of what he needed. This is good damage. Stats sits with a +1 advantage, but again, you're fighting into Disruptors, and that is never, ever a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that Stats is going to say, all right, not worth it. I have a 3rd base. Even though if I lost workers, I have a 3rd base that's about to finish up. I can do light, uncommitted pressure with a Warp Prism. I do not need to force the issue over here, and I do like that decision from Stats. Gonna be able to find a pylon that was just starting up, finds a Stalker over here that was trying to protect the pylon. Double Immortal is gonna be pretty good at dealing with that. And remember, Astrea did not have a Twilight count.
Play on the natural. He's just blinked onto the natural expansion to try and fight, and there's a Disruptor to buy some time. It's a cool idea. He realized how much was in the main base, and it was just Disruptors defending, so he took the opportunity. Doesn't find much, but it's looking for chances like that where you can maybe obviously really find an advantage and open this game up a little bit further. Yeah,
Astrea leaves a lot of units patrolling in the main base, and that in and of itself is a victory there if the units over at the front door for Stats to decide to continue poking forward, because it's just a fewer units that are actually going to deal a lot of damage to him. It's really just the Disruptors that are quite scary right now. And Stats is finally saying, okay, my 3rd base is finished. It's mining right now. You don't have a 3rd base. I've done the damage I needed to. I'll leave the very mobile Stalkers out on the map. Gonna pull back all the other units. And these alone will try to find little bits of damage in a very uncommitted way.
Couple probes getting picked off. Everything counts for so much right now. The biggest part of this has got to be that third base of stats, right? Having the extra income to make up for the fact that he's playing against Disruptors and he might be a little bit less efficient. That is absolutely huge. And Disruptor counts back at 4, so it's definitely going to be impactful. You can see Astrea trying to play catch-up now on that Twilight Council and Forge play.
Oh, the Disruptors, where are they? Okay, there they are.
A little bit further back.
Yeah. All right, little trades back and forth. The +1 weapons is about to turn into +2 weapons over here for stats, which gets very scary for Astrea. But like you said, the Disruptors, they are like the ultimate defensive tool here as long as you have them in a good position and you have enough supporting units. And okay, Astrea's staying really on top of this. He has to continue this or he will not have the economy to come back in this game.
Yep, no, I mean, you've got to hit some shots with these Disruptors, I think. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough. I mean, +2 versus +1. It has to be the Disruptors because of that, right? You know, skirmishing with Stalkers just doesn't work well for you at the moment. Unfortunately, Disruptors don't care about upgrades, but that really means that that's your only option. He's going to get the Prism. I think that's a good pick-off. Anyway, blinks to the side, which means he'll continue to fight. He's got one more Disruptor kill, so he'll cancel every Disruptor shot stats. Going in with the confidence. Obviously, those Stalkers having +2 there really helps to make sure those Disruptors are being one-hit, because if any of those doesn't get one shot, that's a lot of dead Stalkers, and Astrea goes across this map to maybe kill the third.
And remember, guys, even though it looks like, oh, the supplies aren't that bad right now, it's, again, about the +2 weapons and the fact that Astrea is still relying on those Disruptors. Having the Astrea's Disruptor count reset is brutal for him. Even though he is finding a couple Stalkers here and there, he is getting out now a third Disruptor, so he's starting to replenish that count. He's going to start to even up the weapon upgrades a little bit with +1 weapons, but man, 40 +3 weapons coming out. I
like this from stats. This Warping of Zealots. He's got charge now, because I really do think this army of Astrea doesn't really stand up for itself very well because the Disruptors count just got reset heavily. And now we're going to go diving in. There's going to be Zealots to charge in too. Hey, it's a good Disruptor shot, don't get me wrong, but you've got everything else still following. So now your Disruptors are all on cooldown. Blink in. Okay, there's one Disruptor that just spawned. Stats will split against it. And he's got 4 Immortals behind it. He's got too much. The +2 against +1. We talked about it a lot. That will do it for stats as he goes through to the semifinals.